Now let's shift gears to a keynote that will challenge the way we think about growth, direction, and opportunity in today's fast-paced business world. In times of rapid change, leaders who revisit their strategies and embrace fresh perspectives can unlock new potential, accelerate progress, and create meaningful impact across their organizations. Please join me in welcoming Joan Sugerman, CEO of Gemini Worldwide, for her keynote, Vision Reimagined, a Transformation. In transforming people's lives, Joan understands that everyone has a deep commitment to aliveness, success, self-worth, wholeness, and peace of mind. She will share insights on rethinking organizational direction, navigating change, and making bold decisions that lead to sustainable success. Get ready to gain strategies that will inspire action and help your organization thrive in an evolving landscape. Welcome.
Welcome to the keynote speech, Vision Reimagined. I'm Joan Sugerman, as was said, and I've supported leaders globally for the last 25 and more years in having extraordinary power in their leadership to fulfill on their vision, to realize their goals, and to actually accomplish the seemingly impossible. And I emphasize the seemingly impossible, because we do think the impossible is actually possible. And we'll see in a few minutes how vision has to do with that. So just a few samples. If I had an audio and video here on a projected screen of some of the people who've said their vision, so I'll say it for them, and I can't possibly say it as well. But John F. Kennedy said, "We choose to go to the moon." He said that at a university speech, and what he said changed the world. And that was from his saying and from a whole lot of actions that took place after that. Ronald Reagan said, "Space travel doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the bold and the brave." And here we just had Artemis. And Martin Luther King said, "I have a dream," as a precursor to all kinds of dreams that he expressed, and that actually many of them got fulfilled in the world. So it all starts with vision. And my intention for you here tonight, this morning, is for you to fully engage in reimagining, reinventing, or even creating newly your own vision. So I'm asking not only to listen, but to engage in what that might be for you. I know that may be a big demand or a big request or a big intention, and if you're willing, I would love you to engage that way. And you'll actually have the opportunity, assuming we have enough time, at the end for you to share what you've come up with. It doesn't have to be fully formulated, but something that you really reimagine during the course of this short keynote. And that will have it be productive and operative on the court. I'm interested in vision, and I'm interested in action, and I'm interested in results. So that would be well worth it in this period of time. All right. Does anyone accept my invitation right off the bat, or you want to think about it? You accept? Great. Anyone else? Okay. So why for centuries have people created vision? This is not a new engagement. Not new at all. And vision usually, except for people like what I just shared and many, many other people, vision often goes dormant or becomes a concept. And why is vision such a big deal? Why are we even talking about it? I've just engaged for 4 months with a leadership group on nothing but vision. And they love it because it empowers them. It gives them life. It inspires them. It gives them a focus. It gives them a rudder on which to operate or in which to operate. So vision is critical for your leadership. It's critical for your life. And it's critical for you being lit up by that there's a future that is bigger than yourself that is worth living for. And by bigger than yourself, there's nothing wrong with yourself. But bigger than yourself, I mean bigger than your doubts, bigger than your worries, bigger than I can't do it, and we all have that, bigger than the impossible really isn't possible. And when you're given by a vision, anything really can be possible. And that's not like a rainbow or a pie in the sky. It takes actions that are correlated to that, of course. So vision also provides a focused roadmap for pitfalls and breakdowns in your organization or even with yourself. Meaning vision goes out of existence really quickly when that happens. Failure has vision go out of existence really quickly. We're going to get into that a little bit more. And vision really is a rudder for, and I'm using a sailing image or a boating image, for an organization. I've been part of AT&T for many years. That's where I kind of grew up in my leadership. And there was always a vision, and the vision was service. It was really, really simple. It wasn't about ourselves or myself or the employees. It was about other people. And I was so inspired by that I actually got fascinated by vision early on. So vision is a roadmap for existing as an organization. Whether it's breakdowns or you're already flying ahead or you have momentum or you don't have a momentum, whatever it is a roadmap for the future. Vision is a future-based phenomenon as opposed to a past-based phenomenon. And we often live, as you know, in a past-based world. If we're really authentic about how we live, we're either engaged in what is predictable or what has been or what we think can happen, but maybe not, and all kinds of yeah buts and doubts and interpretations, etc., on and on and on. Our mind has endless opportunity to dismiss vision. Okay, so what is vision? Now, I have a definition, but I don't actually believe in definitions because there's nothing fixed and there's no ultimate definition, but this is the best one that I've come up with so far. A newly imagined, inspiring future that when shared and realized, alters life. I'll say that again. A newly imagined, inspiring future that when shared and realized, alters life. And I invite you to come up with your own view of vision. You can take that one or come up with your own. This is not, I don't have proprietary ownership of the definition of vision at all. It's the creation of a powerful view that connects to what really matters the most for you, for your teams, for your leaders, and for your organization, and other organizations outside of yours, and your partners. What really connects to you that is most important and what matters the most. And it goes deep. It's the heart, it's your heart and your dreams. And vision catapults you into new thinking and new actions and inspires you and others to take powerful new actions, bold actions that you may not otherwise take when you're fueled by vision. If you're fueled by anything else besides vision that isn't future-based, meaning the past, you're not going to operate that way and you will not be in a state of high performance. So effective leadership, I'm going to assert, starts with vision. Operating from an inspiring, reimagined future alters the results you want to have for your clients, your company, your colleagues, your partners, and yourself. Mahatma Gandhi, who led India into freedom quite about 4 decades ago, I think it is, said, You must be the change you want to see in the world. A lot of people go to work on changing the world, which is very noble and really great. He has a more profound view. And the profound view is that you must be the change that you want to see in the world. Well, how come? Why does he say that? He says that because it has integrity. It's like if you want peace in the world and you're fighting with your spouse, that's not being the change that you want in the world. I mean, that's a very general example. But even more specifically, if you want to have people who are unified in communication and vision-oriented, wouldn't it be a little absurd if you didn't have a vision for yourself? It lacks authenticity, and it lacks integrity, and it lacks being the real deal. So I'm asking you to be the real deal. Gandhi was a very wise man, and I'm suggesting that vision become the context out of which you operate. And the context is decisive, meaning the context decides your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, your results, and your vision. In fact, vision is a context. When Kennedy said, "We choose to go to the moon," what did he do? I don't know all the things that he did, but I know that there was a moon, but there was no going to the moon and no way to get to the moon and no funds to the moon. So it became the context many, many years ago that now resulted in the Artemis launch that we're all so proud of. It started with Kennedy. Now, they're circling the moon, they're not going to the moon, but we've gone to the moon several times already. But it became the context for his life and his presidency, and probably a lot of other things became the context too, but that's the one I'm focusing on. So consider, we were talking a little bit about integrity, consider that what creates vision is not it's not from somewhere else. Gandhi said vision starts with you. In fact, you're the origin of vision. No one else can give you what really matters to you and what's really important to you. Consider that vision is a sacred saying. Now, you can look at that in a religious context. I'm going to offer you another context as well. Consider that your speaking of vision is so integral to what really matters to you and to your organization that it is unmessable with if you relate to word that way. And I know a lot of you relate to word as really powerful. It could be your word like honoring your parents. It could be your word like being a good father or a good mother or a good brother or a good sister or a good daughter, or on and on and on. I know that you've lived that way. I don't know if we relate to vision that way. The leaders who have sustained vision over time, and some of them that I mentioned, and there are many, many others, have related to vision as immutable and unmessable with, particularly in the face of breakdowns in organizations, and I'll give you a couple of examples. First of all, Alexander Graham Bell, who we don't think about much these days, but he invented the telephone. My original leadership training was when I worked for the telephone company, and it taught me a whole lot about corporations and organizations and leadership. Well, Alexander Graham Bell, before he invented anything, was engaged in supporting and helping the deaf. As a personal, it has nothing to do with the telephone. He wasn't even interested in the telephone then. He was interested in human beings communicating. And he started with his interest in the deaf. And then it became a vision for the future. And his vision for the future, let me read you that 1 second, is to revolutionize human connection by human communication that eliminates barriers of time and space. And here we are in the age of cell phones and now in the age of AI and digital communication. It all started with a sacred saying of Alexander Graham Bell. That's pretty awesome to think about. So it was a sacred saying for him, and it was sacred because it was true to his heart and true to his commitment and true to what really mattered to him personally. Vision isn't an idea. It's not a good idea. It's not a concept. It's not in order to get somewhere. That's not what vision is. You can call that something else. Vision is something else, far more integral to what really matters. Any questions so far? Okay, cool. So how do you keep vision alive? It's fragile. Even if you're really powerful with your word, vision is fragile. You have one failure and vision is out the window. Your company fails in revenue. Vision is out the window. What happened to vision? And then suddenly everything is wrong and you got to fix it and vision is out the window. Well, what if vision weren't out the window when there are real challenges and real breakdowns? What if vision is not out the window at all? Then your word wins, and your word is your vision, and that keeps the rudder of your organization going. I coached a high technology company for over 10 years. Their revenue skyrocketed, but it didn't start that way. In fact, the CEO I was coaching died in a plane crash, and there was no succession plan. So the COO, who I was also coaching, stepped up to be the leader of the company. But that was a real crisis because the employees, I think were 400, wasn't a huge company, but it was big enough and really made a big impact in technology. The employees did not want to work for him because they were tied to the former CEO. They weren't tied to the vision. In fact, I'm not sure there was a vision. They were tied to him as a personality and as a leader, and that's great, but they weren't tied to the organization as a vision. So I started coaching him, and one of the first things he did was to create a vision. He was a Marine, and he created, the vision of the company was to save America. And they had huge contracts, all technologically based, having to do with defense and other ways to save America. He went to every single employee in the company and talked to them about reinventing the vision, in fact, actually creating a vision, and getting connected to them and getting their trust, and that he was going to lead this company into a new future. And not one employee quit. And he was faced with maybe 50% of them quitting. So vision is really important, and people are hungry for vision, and these employees really loved it. And that's why they stayed. It wasn't about his personality. It was about the vision. And people are hungry for vision. Vision is a team sport. We think of a lot of team sports, but vision is a team sport. Now, why do I say that? Because it can only happen in the world with other people, and with other people aligned with that vision. You can have a sole vision and operate from that, but that only gets you so far. If you're leading an organization, or you're leading a small group, or you're leading a giant Fortune 100 company, your vision communicated and having the employees inspired and aligned on that vision creates magic. Just like the example I gave to you. It creates magic because people are motivated on their own. They're not forced to do stuff. They're not doing stuff for their salary. They're doing stuff because they're inspired by something that really matters to them. So it's a way to actually realign a company and have it reinvent itself. So my question to you is, do you have a vision? Do you have a vision? Do you have a vision that's operative? Do you have a vision that's on hold? Do you have a vision that's a concept? Or maybe no vision at all? Or maybe after hearing this, and I know this is a short talk, Maybe you're willing to invent a vision. Well, that would be a really extraordinary, tangible result of this keynote, if you're willing, really. What is leadership like with no vision? What is it like? It's kind of dull. It's not that effective. One of the foundations of high performance, and I coach executives in this all the time, is to be aligned with an empowering context for actions and for performance. And if you want high performance, it takes being given by a future that is seemingly impossible. It's called a vision. So what displaces vision? Well, certainly, as I said before, failure. Certainly your doubts that something can happen, and that doesn't take much. I mean, I know for myself, doubts creep in all the time, but I'm trained. I'm trained to disappear that right away. What else displaces vision is a weak relationship to your word. Like, how strong is your relationship to your word when things get tough? How strong is your relationship to your word when it takes time for the vision to materialize? You know that there are many companies that have taken a long time to launch and to be successful. And that's the leaders who lead their way through that have a powerful relationship to their word. And having that be unmessable and immutable. So what displaces vision is a weak relationship to your word and letting circumstances and disbelief and doubts and other people's views and all kinds of ways that a company can go off track get in the way of your vision. Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb, said, "Vision without execution is hallucination." Now, that's a little exaggerated, but what has vision come to life, aside from sharing it with others and having others aligned in it, is it being operative in the world through actions. It's clear that Kennedy took actions to actually have us go to the moon the first time. I remember a worker at AT&T, he was sitting on the floor in what's called the mainframe. This was in Washington, D.C., and there were miles of wires on big metal racks. This was a while ago, and it may still be there, I don't know. And I kneeled down and I asked him what he was doing. And he stopped with his pliers and his yellow and green and red wires. He stopped working with his pliers and he looked at me and he said, "I'm connecting a mother at a naval base in the Pacific to their child at home. I'm connecting people in need to each other around the world." That's what his pliers and his wires meant. He was given with no training. He didn't even know I was going to be there. He had no training. He didn't expect my question. That's where he's lived from. He was not doing menial work, which is putting wires together. He was given by a single solo vision that is so inspiring. I remember it today and I'm still moved by it. At the World Bank, there's a vision on the wall. It's a company I've coached for, I don't know, at least 15 years. And I've coached out almost the entirety of the World Bank in the US. And there's a vision on the wall called End Poverty. That's their vision. But that vision was not even operative, alive, real for most of the employees, including the executives. And what had happened was the employees of the bank, no matter how expert they were and global and amazing at what they did, were not inspired by that vision and were not connected to each other. In fact, I interviewed so many people and I supported huge teams at the World Bank in getting reconnected to each other and having respect and honoring each other. And I have how many more minutes? 3 more minutes? Got it. And So what was I going to say? Oh, so they got reconnected to each other. They got reconnected to their vision, and they reinvented the entire World Bank, both here and all their headquarters globally, out of a reinstated vision that really what they're about is ending poverty, not about making great deals with foreign countries and all the things that the World Bank does. So vision comes alive when it's shared. And so now I'm going to ask you to share your vision that's current, a newly imagined vision, or a vision that you've just reimagined, or you can always reimagine a vision. We have little time. So who would be willing to come up to the microphone here and share your vision? I'd ask you to come up to here instead of the ones out there. So who would be willing to do that? Would anybody be willing to do that? Don't be shy. It doesn't have to be totally formulated. It can be rough. That's fine. I'm asking you to be bold and courageous. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so you want me to share my vision?
Yeah, stand up.
Okay, my vision is to help small and medium businesses be the most successful businesses in the Houston area. Houston is a huge economic region, and they're undergoing a lot of change. And my vision is to see small and medium-sized businesses be the most successful businesses in the state of Texas, even in the U.S.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for coming up here. One more? We have time for one more, please. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I really thank you for engaging in this, actually what I consider a very important conversation. We're just tipping the iceberg has just been touched. We're nowhere going as deep as we can go regarding vision. And I really appreciate your engagement in this. And I ask you to take your vision into the world, share it with people, and if you don't have a vision, to create one and leave the world inspired. I'm committed to a world transformed, and this is one way to do it. And I'm asking you to do that in service of all of that. So I appreciate your being here and engaging in this conversation, and the keynote speech is now complete. Thank you so much.